So today we're going to be talking about matchups that need to be made next after UFC 312. We are starting off with the main event winner in DDP, who quite convincingly beat Sean Strickland in the rematch. That was nothing like their first fight. That was a clear DDP win. In my opinion, he did win the fight 4-1. A lot of people had it 5-0. I did say in my review of the card yesterday that it was 4-1. Still do stand by that. I give Sean Strickland the second round. What's next for DDP? Let's just get right into it. We've got Khamzat Chimaev. Why is my face fucking glowing on the camera? Anyway, let's move on. You hear that? I'm sick, but the daily uploads continue. Starting off, we've got Khamzat Chimaev facing DDP. Look, we knew this was going to be the fight. DDP said it. Dana White said it. Now, look, call me different. Call me out there. Call me a fake hardcore all you want. Try and tell me Imavov doesn't deserve it more. Like, obviously Imavov isn't going to get the fight. It's obviously going to be Khamzat Chimaev. But Imavov is ranked above Khamzat, has done better work in the middleweight division than Khamzat. Kind of should be Imavov getting the title shot, to be honest. But we're going to get this matchup. Look, I still have Khamzat Chimaev a favourite going into this fight against DDP. DDP looked really good in there against Adesanya and Sean Strickland, and he looked really good in there against Robert Whittaker. All high-level strikers, though, not high-level grapplers. And again, that's nothing on DDP. He's just fighting the guys who are put in front of him. And at the minute, those are the elite guys in the middleweight division. Like I said, he looked really, really impressive in there against Sean Strickland. And he is the better striker than Khamzat Chimaev. Let's just be 100% honest. If this fight takes place on the feet, DDP, you have to give him the advantage. But that's my issue. Khamzat Chimaev's grappling is just so elite. Can DDP deal with it? We haven't seen him defensively grapple in a very long time. Last time he was in there with a high-level wrestler was Derek Brunson, who, in my opinion, yes, was a good wrestler, had a good wrestling background, but was nowhere near the level of grappler that Khamzat Chimaev is. Now, I do think what will help DDP is his strength in the clinch, or when Khamzat Chimaev does initially shoot the takedown. My problem is, though, it's going to be hard for DDP to be able, unless he sprawls on top of Khamzat. I don't know if he'll be that reactionary, though, because of the way Khamzat dives for the takedowns. Like, there's no setup involved. He just dives very low down on the legs, which will make it hard for Dricus to sprawl on him, and again, make it hard for DDP to initially stop the takedown to get the underhook. Although, if he is able to get the underhook, I think he will have success, as I think he will be able to match Khamzat Chimaev in the strength department if he isn't stronger than Khamzat and be able to break the grip of Khamzat. Although I just think Khamzat will be able to take him down at will, especially early on. I don't think he'll submit Dricus, and Dricus is tough, so a part of me does feel like DDP can outlast Khamzat Chimaev. If DDP is able to make it out of the second round with Khamzat, easy money, DDP stops him, in my opinion. But that's the big if. And currently, I am going with Khamzat Chimaev to beat him. But that is definitely the fight that needs to be made next. Moving on, we have got Sean Strickland, the loser of the main event of UFC 312. This right here is the fight that is going to be made, let's be honest. This right here is the easiest fight to make for the UFC. It's another big money fight, another high profile fight for Sean Strickland. Because if he doesn't get this Adesanya matchup, I'm afraid my boy Sean Strickland is heading to the Apex again. So if Strickland wants to be in big name fights, which I think he is entitled to, the guy is number one in the middleweight division despite coming off that loss to Dricus Du Plessis. I think this is the fight they are going to make, especially for Israel Adesanya. Like, I think Izzy should just retire before he ruins his career. But Izzy will probably look at that DDP performance. Obviously, Izzy and Dricus fight very, very different, but will be a promising for Adesanya, as I mean Strickland did have staff going into that fight, so that probably did play on Strickland's game plan. But Strickland didn't look as busy as what he normally does in his fights, and it looked like he did slow down at parts. But this is the fight they're going to make. Adesanya, if he was able to beat the not the number one contender, but the number one ranked middleweight in Sean Strickland in a high stakes rematch, that gets him right back in there in title contention. A lot of people probably won't agree with that. They don't want to see Adesanya fight for the belt again. I don't think he ever will. But if he beats Sean Strickland and say Khamzat beats DDP, there is a very, very, very high chance that this guy would be fighting Khamzat Chimaev for the belt. I think it's a no-brainer matchup to make. Izzy's coming off a KO defeat. Strickland's just had his fucking nose broke. Both guys are going to be off for quite some time. Bring them back in the summer, maybe like July, August. I think that will be a fair time for that fight. Look, this fight right here isn't one that is made and has got fuck all to do with UFC 312. But can someone sit down and explain to me what's the big rush for this fight? Like, Imavov is clearly the number one contender in my opinion. The guy has done some brilliant work in the UFC's middleweight division. Early stoppage over Jared Cannonier, you could argue, but he hurt Jared Cannonier in there. I think it was only a matter of time before Imavov did finish him. Clearly, the tides were turning. He beat Brendan Allen, who was on like a 7-fight win streak, I believe, going into that fight. Really, really good win for Imavov, and obviously coming off the big KO win over former 2-time UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. Where if you look at what Kyle Baralho has done, the guy's beaten Jared Cannonier. Imavov's already done that, and before that he beat Paul Craig. So, how does this guy earn a number one contender fight? I don't get it. Now, I don't want to see Imavov sit out and wait because I think that will hinder him. The guy is young though, so he does have that chance to. I feel like Imavov, if he can, should try and get in the position to be the backup fighter for UFC, whatever it's going to be, Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Du Plessis. And I think the fight to make is Kyle Baralho versus Robert Whittaker. And if Kyle Baralho is able to beat Robert Whittaker in that matchup, then no brainer, make Nasruddin Imavov versus Kyle Baralho. But I don't understand. I would like to see this fight, yes, and if it got made, I'm not going to cry about it, but I don't understand why this guy's being really pushed up into a number one contenders fight. Like, what has he done? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? But back on with the matchmaking. Zhang Weili, let's just match her up against Valentina Shevchenko. Now, rumours are Valentina is set to defend her belt against Fiorot in Canada, which is GG if that's the main event. That there is another event that I will be missing. I will just watch it the next day. Am I by fuck staying up to watch this matchup? Absolute snooze fest for UFC 306 performance. Honestly, yeah, don't make me smash my entire setup by overthinking that performance. But yeah, that there is the matchup to make. Kind of a super fight. If that fight, Valentina Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, I wouldn't mind that being a main event if it was in the likes of China or something like that. I think that would be a fun one. And finally, the last matchup we are making is for Topuria. Now, a lot of people don't understand it. This is actually Ilia Topuria's older brother. People seem to think this guy's young. Yes, he is pretty young. I'm pretty sure the guy's 29. Let me see. Can I see his date of birth here? No. Right, let's go to bio. What the fuck is that on the bottom of my screen? Right, yeah, so that just wasted my time. So I'm pretty sure is he early 30s? Anyway, he is Ilia Topuria's older brother. Now, coming off a really good win over Colby Thickness, or Thickness, however you say the guy's name, which was a really, really impressive win, and he did look really good in there. Time isn't of the essence for this guy right here, so he will need to jump up, and what helps is his brother is a massive superstar in the UFC, and a lot of people were hyped for his debut. Great performance, great some wee bits and pieces you can clip for a highlight reel, him suplexing Colby in there, etc. That there always looks good. What I think should be next for him, give him Adrian Yanez. I think that right there is a fun matchup. The boxing exchanges will be really fun in there. Adrian Yanez does tend to quite often have some fun fights, and I think it's a very winnable fight for Topuria. He is a name that people will know. He is coming off a split decision loss at the UFC Fight Night card, Colby Covington, Joaquin Buckley, so I'm assuming he will be wanting to get in there pretty soon. I think the perfect time to have that fight, UFC 314, especially if Topuria is rematching Volkanovski. Even if he's not, have him on that Miami card, on the prelims. I think that there is how the UFC should matchmake for some fighters on UFC 312. Look, there were obviously a lot of other fights on UFC 312. I'm not wasting my time matchmaking those guys. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. What fights would you like to see next after, UFC 312? And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in the next one.